Thank you so much for waiting. We'll now start the launch event of the OECD recommendation on the social and solidarity economy and social innovation with our speakers. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Secretary of State Marlene Schiappa, Director Juan Manuel Martinez-Luvier, Deputy Director General Juan Manuel Sanchez-Terán, Secretary General Ode Saldana, Director Victor Mesega, dear participants. It's a real pleasure to welcome you all today for the official launch of the OECD recommendation on the social and solidarity economy and social innovation, which was adopted by the OECD Council on the 10th of June this year. My name is Nadim Ahmed, the Deputy Director of the Centre for Entrepreneurship, SMEs, Regions and Cities, where through the Local Employment and Economic Development Programme, we've been working for over 25 years to develop policies and expertise to support and leverage on the full potential of the social economy, social enterprises, social entrepreneurship, and social innovation. And that potential improving ability of social economy organisations is to provide innovative and rapid solutions to social and economic problems, including many that were exacerbated by crises, including the financial crisis, the pandemic, and of course, most recently by the refugee crisis unfolding in the wake of Russia's aggression against Ukraine. Now, a large part of our efforts have also been about raising awareness about that potential. Indeed, many of you here today have been present at the high-level conference that we organised last year, supported by our excellent and long-standing partners in the European Commission, which was held under the banner of From the Margins to the Mainstream. And the EU, I should also mention, of course, are also supporting our collective efforts on the global action on promoting social and solidarity ecosystems that we started in 2020. Now, the recommendation that we're launching today is in part the fruition of all of those collective efforts, and that will help to continue to drive momentum and progress and cement the social economy's position in the mainstream of policymaking. Now, I say mainstream in policymaking deliberately because the social economy, at least for me, has long been in practice, at least in the mainstream of our economies, even if it's not always been recognized as such. For example, the social economy accounts for between 6 and 8% of GDP and nearly 12 million jobs in Europe. In Colombia, accounts for about 4% of GDP, and nearly 7 million Colombians are members of social economy organizations. Social enterprises account for just under 6 million jobs in Japan. And in Canada, the non-profit sector accounts for 8.5% of GDP and 2.5 million jobs. And the corporate sector accounts for an additional 3.4% of GDP and 2/3 of a million jobs. But the good news is that mainstreaming in policymaking is itself also becoming increasingly the norm. In many countries, regions and cities have identified a specific role for the social economy in their growth and development plans, including, of course, in the recovery processes that we're now seeing taking place in many, many countries across the globe. And that mainstreaming reflects growing awareness in a number of areas. I mean, awareness of the social economy as an important vehicle for driving and supporting social inclusion, employment, particularly amongst disadvantaged groups, and the transition of workers from the informal to the formal economy, as we showed recently in our work on Colombia. Awareness of its role in driving social cohesion, contributing to resilience and local development, and awareness, of course, of its pioneering and innovative role in key transformations such as fair trade, the green transition, the digital transition, the circular economy, and meeting the SDGs. And all of these, of course, have been helped in no small part by the social economy's proximity to grassroots communities, grassroots challenges, and of course, grassroots opportunities. And as I mentioned already, the recommendation will help to continue to drive momentum on all of these fronts. It provides a globally recognized framework to understand the social economy's governance of business models, the different forms of legal frameworks in place, as well as, crucially, policy tools that can be leveraged and supported in delivering stronger economic and social impacts. Now, it does this through 9 concrete pillars that foster a social economy culture, create supportive institutional frameworks, design enabling legal and regulatory frameworks, and it's a strong recognition, of course, that the absence of those can often act as barriers that can hold the social economy back. Supporting access to financing and funding, enabling access to public and private markets, strengthening skills and business development support, encouraging impact measurement and monitoring. I mean, not least, of course, is the real social value, especially the impact on well-being, is typically not always reflected in conventional statistics. So the data that I refer to earlier on about contribution to GDP is actually an underestimate of the real impact, the full impact that the social economy makes, because much of its impact is basically non-monetary. And last but not least, of course, to support the production of data and to encourage social innovation. And our efforts, of course, don't end there. We're now working on the implementation toolkit of the recommendation, which will provide practical guidance and inspiration for countries, regions, and cities to use the recommendation in policy design. And it will be amiss of me, certainly if I didn't mention this now, that for all those countries listening in, to participate in that phase of our work by providing and sharing with the OECD all of your good practices and examples and experiences that can enrich our own work. So with that, I thank you all again for joining us here today, and I'll pass the floor to Antonella Neuer, who's the head of our Social Economy and Innovation Unit, who will moderate the panel discussion, and look forward to hearing from our excellent speakers. Many thanks and welcome all again.
Thank you very much, Nadim, for such inspiring introduction. I want to thank you everyone for joining this important event. It is the official launch of our OECD recommendation on social and solidarity economy and social innovation. Sorry, I think you hear me better now. Okay, sorry. Okay, let's continue. It's live. That's why these things happen. Thank you very much for joining us. We are very excited today. We want to start this event by giving the floor to a very important person who unfortunately cannot be with us today, but she really wanted to be with us and share her remarks with us. So before going in a live discussion with the other panelists, which I will announce later, I want to give the floor virtually through a video to Minister Schiappa, the Secretary of State for the Social and Solidarity Economy and Association in France. So please run the video.
Madame la directrice, mesdames et messieurs les ministres, mesdames et messieurs en vos différents grades et qualités, mesdames et messieurs. D'abord, je vous remercie chaleureusement, je remercie les équipes de l'OCDE de me donner la possibilité d'intervenir auprès de vous à cette conférence sur la mise en œuvre de la recommandation adoptée en juin dernier. Cette conférence s'inscrit, je le sais, dans un calendrier très riche et encourageant pour l'économie sociale et solidaire, tant au niveau européen qu'international. Je crois que cela conforte le succès de l'économie sociale et solidaire, la pertinence de son modèle aussi dans le contexte de crise qui frappe nos économies et nos sociétés. Les entreprises et acteurs de l'économie sociale et solidaire ont su apporter des réponses crédibles et durables aux défis posés par ces crises et je suis convaincue que les politiques publiques doivent les encourager davantage et conforter leur développement. C'est pour conforter ce succès de l'économie sociale et solidaire et distinguer la singularité de ce mode d'entreprendre que la France a adopté dès 2014 une loi spécifique à l'économie sociale et solidaire, la loi ESS, dite loi Hamon. Cela a permis de reconnaître la nature particulière des acteurs de l'ESS, mais aussi de sécuriser leur cadre d'intervention, de mettre à leur disposition des outils d'aide et de financement comme la possibilité de leur réserver des marchés publics ou la possibilité offerte par les banques à leurs clients particuliers de donner une partie de leur épargne solidaire à des entreprises de l'ESS. Ces politiques publiques renforcées depuis la crise sanitaire ont stimulé la croissance des entreprises de l'ESS en France. Elles représentent aujourd'hui 10% du PIB français, 14% des emplois. Elles sont de plus en plus en phase avec les attentes des populations puisqu'elles répondent à une demande croissante de produits et de services au bénéfice de l'intérêt général avec une dimension sociale et environnementale. Bref, pour faire court, ce sont des entreprises et des organisations qui voient au-delà du profit, au-delà du seul bénéfice. Au plan international, la France s'est engagée depuis longtemps, en étant membre fondateur du programme LEAD de l'OCDE et en accompagnant le développement de l'économie sociale et solidaire à l'international. en jouant un rôle moteur au sein de l'Union européenne et en soutenant l'ambition de la Commission européenne de proposer une recommandation cadre. C'est également le sens de notre engagement dans l'alliance Pact for Impact que la France a créée en 2019, que nous finançons et qui a pour ambition de fédérer acteurs institutionnels et acteurs de la société civile pour stimuler le développement de l'économie sociale et solidaire. Parce que cette économie de la coopération, cette économie de la démocratie, elle ne peut pas fonctionner sur une seule verticalité qui viendrait des gouvernements vers la société civile. C'est tout le contraire qu'elle doit faire et c'est le contraire que nous faisons. Alors, permettez-moi de vous féliciter, de nous féliciter finalement collectivement d'avoir réussi au sein de cette alliance à travailler sur un texte qui servira de modèle pour une résolution sur l'économie sociale et solidaire à l'Assemblée générale des Nations Unies. C'est en tout cas ce que j'appelle de mes vœux, ce que nous appelons ensemble de nos vœux. La France soutient très vivement votre recommandation sur l'économie sociale et solidaire et l'innovation sociale, adoptée en juin dernier. Les 9 blocs identifiés sont absolument essentiels pour mobiliser tous les acteurs et réussir cette transition, faire de l'ESS un secteur moteur dans nos économies. Je souhaite d'ailleurs vous annoncer en avant-première que sur la base des travaux menés par l'OCDE sur la question de l'innovation sociale, je crée le premier fonds gouvernemental pour l'innovation sociale qui sera doté d'un montant de 500 000 € pour soutenir des initiatives. Depuis ma nomination au gouvernement en juin dernier, nous avons tâché, dans tous les champs de notre action, de suivre votre recommandation et de la mettre en œuvre. En effet, nous œuvrons pour renforcer le soutien à l'accès au financement et à la finance. Je me suis engagée en présentant ma feuille de route à aller chercher partout où je le pourrais de l'argent pour les acteurs de l'économie sociale et solidaire. Je pense que, parfois mal perçue par des milieux financiers dits classiques, l'économie sociale est souvent mal comprise et associée à des risques supplémentaires difficiles à internaliser par défaut d'indicateurs de performance suffisamment riches et pertinents. C'est une erreur, même si ce n'est pas une généralité. Parce que la finance solidaire, elle doit être une finance du quotidien, de proximité. Et nous sommes persuadés que les organisations internationales ont un rôle à jouer pour promouvoir cette forme de finance, pour mobiliser l'épargne des ménages dans le contexte des crises que nous connaissons en direction de l'économie à impact. La France est donc dotée d'une palette large d'outils de financement pour soutenir l'économie sociale et solidaire. Je pense notamment à la question du contrat à impact social pour plus de 80 millions d'euros. Le contrat à impact social, c'est un véritable outil de diversification de l'action publique, une démonstration de confiance envers les acteurs de l'ESS et envers leur capacité à répondre aux problématiques de la société aujourd'hui. Les contrats à impact, ils portent en eux une vertu cardinale, celle d'une exigence constante de l'évaluation de l'action d'intérêt général. La nécessité d'effectuer des remboursements en fonction d'objectifs à atteindre présente plusieurs intérêts, notamment mesurer l'impact social et la question de la mesure, elle est fondamentale. Nous créons par ailleurs également un fonds de 100 millions d'euros pour le réemploi des matières premières. Il a été prévu par la loi AGEC dans son principe, mais nous créons ce fonds et nous le dotons de ce financement. C'est aussi l'action que nous menons par exemple avec France 2030 pour intégrer l'économie sociale et solidaire dans le grand plan d'investissement d'avenir. Enfin, la question de l'accès au marché public est absolument fondamentale. C'est d'ailleurs le travail mené pour l'économie sociale et solidaire dans le cadre de ESS 2024 pour que là aussi l'économie sociale et solidaire soit partie prenante. Enfin, nous souhaitons renforcer et soutenir le développement des entreprises. Nous tâchons de renforcer les compétences et le soutien au développement des entreprises au sein de l'économie sociale et solidaire en relançant les PTCE, pôles territoriaux de coopération économique, pour lesquels j'ai décidé d'engager 2,5 millions d'euros. Ils incarnent cette spécificité française de l'ESS et cette responsabilité territoriale des entreprises. C'est grâce à cette grande conscience et prise de conscience mondiale que tout le système économique doit faire sa transition, que nous arriverons à mieux promouvoir l'économie sociale et solidaire. En ce sens, le travail que vous menez à l'OCDE permettra à une entreprise de l'ESS d'être reconnue comme telle, y compris dans d'autres pays, de favoriser les projets transfrontaliers, l'établissement à l'étranger aussi de structures d'économie sociale et solidaire et leur expansion. Les acteurs du monde de la finance et en particulier de la finance responsable, les organisations internationales, les membres de la société civile, les décideurs politiques sont aujourd'hui, grâce à vous tous réunis, je suis impatient de pouvoir suivre juste après les échanges qui auront lieu autour de cette recommandation et ce partage de bonnes pratiques. Pour tout cela, je vous remercie très sincèrement et je vous souhaite de bons débats.
It is our turn now to thank the Minister for this warm introduction and for setting the tone of what I'm sure will be a rich discussion. So we can now start the discussion with the panelists. Unfortunately, we have just received the information that our speaker from Slovenia, the State Secretary Mateusz Frangeș, cannot attend the event due to a last-minute commitment. This is really an unfortunate situation, especially because Slovenia is also a very interesting country when it comes to social economy. There are many developments right now in the country, and we know that they are using also the recommendation to further support their social economy landscape. So I can now turn directly to our next speaker, who is with us, although virtually. And so I want to introduce Juan Manuel Martinez-Luvier from Mexico. Juan Manuel is the director of the National Institute of Social Economy in Mexico. And before holding this position at INAES, he has worked in several other places, which made him a true expert on social economy organizations and including on cooperatives. So Juan Manuel, the social economy is very important in Mexico, and based on the estimate, the field contributes to up to 3.2% of the country GDP. Maybe this is one of the reasons why Mexico has really supported the adoption of the recommendation on social and solidarity economy. My question to you is, how will your country use this innovative policy instrument to advance in the development of the social economy? The floor is yours, Juan Manuel.
Thank you very much, Antonella. Please receive a very happy hug from Mexico City. Here's the morning, and I hope that you're doing well in Europe for you all. Well, for us, this recommendation is very important in Mexico because, as you said, Antonella, it is very important, a very specific structure that we had in Mexico as a fruit of the revolution in the early 20th century. That is the common property of the land. So that made a framework of this kind of social economy, this participant economy, cooperative economy in Mexico. Nevertheless, the last 40 years in Mexico, we had implemented those capitalism, neoliberalism politics. So it is very important for us because, as you well know, in 2018, we made a very specific change in terms of politics and how the country should manage. And now people are in the center of the discussion. So for us, it is very important to have this recommendation because it is very congruent to that we have in our constitution since year 1983, the Constitution of Mexico aligned us to speak about a third sector, the private, the public, and the social sector of the economy. We can work the social sector of the economy based on this very specific figures of organization based on common property. We can do that without social economy. Unfortunately, the last 30 years, that kind of management or approaching to the sector from the government has been in terms of money, in terms of loans, in terms of just direct loans, without any other change in their minds and their market practices. Fortunately, now we do have the second congruent element in Mexico that is very related to this recommendation of the OECD, that it is the specific law in social economy from year 2012. That law creates the institute that now we are working on. The National Institute for Social Economy has to be the common rector of the state policy in social economy in Mexico. From our administration in 2018, we developed this third element that is very congruent with the recommendation, and that is the program to enhance the social economy in Mexico. And we see very important similarities with recommendation, and I will name only three axes. First is how to enhance the culture and knowledge of social economy in our country. How to make that common people walking in the street, if you ask them what the social economy is, they could have a positive answer and a very with elements of reality of what social economy represents in the world, in Mexico, and what can become in Mexico. To do that, we have also to implement a very sophisticated system of enhancing forces with the social actors of the social economy to promote courses, to promote methodologies, so those enterprises can become a true force in the markets. And a third axe is very related to the institutional life, especially on the financial sector. What can we do not just to have a more flexible system in Mexico to invest in social enterprises, but to have a specific scenario of finances for the social system. In Mexico, we have 8.5 members of loan and earnings cooperatives in Mexico. But that is not very visible, and that is not very powerful because of that framework of laws and regulations. We need to work with that scenario to enhance those capabilities. So I am very happy to see that this recommendation enhances this, and we will use from our institute to talk with our partners in other spaces of the government to have a true state politics, social politics about social economy in our country. And this recommendation is very useful for us.
Thank you, Juan Manuel. It is very important for us to listen to what you are saying, and certainly rewards the efforts that have been put in the preparation and in the adoption of this recommendation. And you mentioned the fact that it is important to nurture, to foster the culture of social economy. And indeed, one of the main objectives of this recommendation is really to empower countries to give more visibility and recognition to the social economy fields. Thank you very much for having shared with us your thoughts. Now we turn to another Juan Manuel, this time coming from Spain. I'm glad to welcome Juan Manuel Sanchez Louvier, who is the Deputy General Director for the Social Economy and Corporate Social Responsibility from the Ministry of Labor and Social Economy in Spain. And Juan Manuel, you are also the Secretary of the Spanish Council for the Promotion of the Social Economy, and you are currently working on the design of the new Spanish social economy strategy. Juan Manuel, I will let you say a number of figures which speak a lot of the importance of social economy in Spain. But I just want to say that Spain is a leading country on the social economy because the social economy represents 10% of the GDP in Spain. And Spain was also one of the first countries to adopt a national law on the social economy 10 years ago, and last year you celebrated with a manifesto this important anniversary. And Spain also is one of the countries who really strongly supported the adoption of the of the recommendation on social and solidarity economy. So same question with you. Now you have this tool, this recommendation. How do you plan to use it in Spain to advance the development of social economy? The floor is yours, Juan Manuel.
Thank you very much, Antonella. First of all, let me thank the OECD for this launch event and congratulate you, especially for the work that you've been doing in the last years. And very especially to Antonella Noia and Amal Chevreux and all her team at the social economy unit of the OECD. As Antonella has very well said, in Spain, social economy is quite important. I will give you a very brief global view showing the relevance of social economy in our country and why it is important to us. Antonella mentioned some figures. I would like to say that Spain was the first country to approve a social economy law. This was in March 2011, and it was very important to us because for the first time there was a law for the whole social economy, not for the different families. Of course, we had laws for cooperatives and for the different families of the social economy, but not a law recognizing the social economy as a whole. And this law was passed unanimously by the Congress and by the Senate. So this means that it was not a political issue. It was something that all political parties wanted to push. So then also after this law, there's another step that was important to us. That was the creation of a national strategy for social economy. We also were the first country to have a national strategy. This was in 2017, and well, previously there was a national action plan. But the important thing of this strategy is that different administrations were going on the same direction. And recently, well, you know, in Spain there's a coalition government. So with this new government, the ministries changed a little bit, and there was this creation of a ministry for the first time in history, Ministry of Labor and Social Economy. So social economy is a strand of a ministry, and this means that there are policies, there are programs, and there's budget devoted to the promotion and the developing of the social economy. Giving you some figures, in Spain there are more or less 43,000 companies in the social economy belonging to the different families. Of course, the most recognized and important ones are the cooperatives, but there are many others. And the volume of their activities represent more or less 10% of our GDP, which is a great share of this GDP. 2.2 million direct and indirect jobs are created by the social economy and in every sector. Of course, in the primary sector, you know, agro food cooperatives are very important everywhere, also in Spain. Also the industrial sector. You might know there are very big cooperatives and corporations in this industrial sector in Spain, mainly in the Basque Country, and also in the tertiary sector, in many different divisions. And some of them are very important from the point of view of an administration, because they are complementary to the activities administrations are meant to develop. I'm talking about education, I'm talking about health, about social inclusion of vulnerable groups. So these social economy entities do a very great job, and sometimes they complement there where the administrations can't reach. They go beyond the work of the administrations. And I wanted to highlight one document that is important to us, which is as I said before, our Spanish social economy strategy. But now this social economy strategy is being renewed because the one that started in 2017 and that is still in place needs a new view. So the design is very advanced, and the important thing of this new strategy is that it is a co-created strategy. It was worked by some 50 representatives of organizations and administrations linked to the social economy. You know that in Spain is a very decentralized country, and to understand the Spanish situation, it's very important to know that social economy, namely cooperativism, relies, the responsibilities relies on the regions. So at national level, mainly what we do is we try to create this common field for everyone, so the different regions reach the same level of development on social economy. And this is what we intend with this national strategy. And we had a special sensitivity in this regard, so we tried to share the different views of the different territorial levels, from the local to the international. And this is where the OECD recommendation plays a very important role, because we share a same vision. I mean, the 9 building blocks of the OECD recommendation are very, very much aligned with the different axes and the different lines of action that we have in our national strategy. We have 4 axes. We try to make it simple. So there's one on visibility and institutional participation of the social economy. The second one is the improvement of competitiveness. The third one is the entrepreneurship and emerging sectors. And there's a fourth one on social and territorial sustainability. And of course, there's another chapter on governance. And these 4 axes, if we get into their content, they reflect many other actions that are very much in line with the 9 building blocks of the OECD recommendation. And finally, this strategy was presented last week, well, it was the 28th of October at the National Council for the Promotion of the Social Economy, that is an advisory body for the government on social economy, and there are all the regions have a seat at this council, and also many ministries, and the sector, and also experts, independent experts on social economy. So we presented this strategy, and now today we received the last suggestions, and we would like it to be passed by the Council of Ministers by the end of this year. And the last thing I would like to say, it is important also the OECD recommendation in this regard, is that it has been approved in Spain a very important financial package to promote social economy. This is called a strategic project for the social and the care economy, because these two themes are very much related, social economy and the care economy, as you know. There's an amount of more than 800 million euros assignated to this strategic project, and we have an involvement of 13 ministries. And also there's a specific 100 million euros that is going to be managed directly by our ministry, and mainly it is going to be done by means of a call for proposals. So, and also in the designing of this call for proposals has the OECD recommendation, as well as other international documents and regional and local ones, have been taken into consideration. So thank you very much again for the work you've done, and you know that, well, Spain will always support the will always push international support on social economy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to you, Juan Manuel. It is very important for us to know that the recommendation is really helping you to push further the development of social economy. You raised a number of very important points. I want just to pick on 3 of them. You mentioned the importance of the presence of social economy in the industrial sector, and this is something that needs to be reminded, because sometimes general publics tend to see social economy just operating in small niches. This is not the case. Linked to this, you mentioned the interrelation between social economy and care economy, and I would like also to add that, of course, this is also true for the circular economy, the green economy, the circular economy, and the recommendation really wants to help policymakers to connect the different dots between these. And of course, I cannot refrain from mentioning the importance of the territorial, regional, and local level, because this is what we really look after in our directorate. Thank you very much. So now we turn to representatives from networks on social economy. The role of networks is very important, and I will let our guest to explain why. And I would like to introduce Aude Saldana, who is the Secretary General of the Global Social Economy Forum, which is an international association of local governments and civil society network. And GSEF is co-chaired by a local government, and a representative of social society network. So really, it's a multi-stakeholder network. And I would like to ask to Aude Saldana, how can the OECD recommendation be useful for networks such as your network to support further social economy development? We have heard from policymakers. We know that networks have an important role too. So please, Aude, let's tell us your story.
Thank you very much, Antonella, and I would like first to thank you for the organization of this lunch event, and also for the opportunity to participate in this panel. It testifies also to the collaboration between OECD and our civil society networks, as you've been looking at inputs all over the development of your recommendation. From civil society organizations. So it's really key to highlight here. Briefly to introduce, I would like just to say one word about the GSEF, who have undergone a successful transition from Seoul to Bordeaux in France this year. And as you just said, we have we are an international organization of local governments and civil society organizations engaged in the promotion of social and solidarity economy. So the OECD recommendation is highly useful for our network, as many other networks. But to say that it's a strong lever to continue our work. This recommendation set a reference on which our networks can base their advocacy and promotion of SSE. So, and also the holistic approach of the recommendation is also for us a strong arguments, a strong framework to show how these 9 blocks are linked together and are necessary steps towards the development of new global framework. So our network, if it's needed to say, is eager to take an active role in the development, deployment, and implementation of the coming toolkits within our OECD members, for sure, but also in non-OECD members. As we see, we have 86 members right now, as of today, spread, gathered in 36 countries. So for sure, we can also help the implementation of the toolkits that is really much needed, I think, to help to help make progress on the development of enabling environment of SSE. And in this sense also, our forum, next international forum, which will be held in Dakar in May, could be used to launch the toolkits also. Could be really a good tribune, a good platform to show how the toolkits can be helpful to foster this social economy, culture, and environment within countries. Maybe I could highlight that the recommendation make a strong focus on 2 to 3 objectives that also the GSF is following. And the first one I could say, and the OECD recommendation is strong and is useful for that, is recognizing the need to build, to support the development of local and national SSE networks from civil society organization. And why this is important, and the recommendation is also showing this, that building strong local and national SSE networks is important to so that they can improve the strength of their advocacy and also be seen as interlocutors in the co-dialogue and the co-construction of local policies and national policies and new SSE frameworks. So I do feel that, as you stressed already, that these networks are key to participate in the policy dialogue and the co-construction of SSE policies. So, and these and SSE networks at local or national networks can also initiate new projects, test new innovation, social innovation, which can demonstrate the added value of SSEs. I think the first thing, second thing after the advocacy is also the need, and the recommendation highlight the need to support the construction of SSE networks. I would also I also want to say that the recommendation highlight the need to gather and to collect data. And I feel that using our networks also, with members are really active in the promotion, but also in the implementation of projects, innovative projects of SSEs, is also well to build this collective data that we need to put together to show the value added of SSE networks. If I could say a last word is how our networks and also the OECD recommendation highlight the fact that we should focus on the participation of young people and youth towards the implementation, the development of SSE all around the world, because they are key actors to be part of this large movement, and specifically SSE is really instrumental for them in terms of job creation, and decent work creation and their participation to the development of their territories. So I should also, it's also very important that the recommendation is also highlighting the fact that we should build new, to foster the social economic culture, it should start with our young people and start with developing and the development of educational projects from primary level even. So last thing maybe, it's also the recommendation is really useful, and we hope also, and that's why we want to be part of the implementation of the coming toolkits, is that we can see that our members and the local governments need support in the development of their local policies also. And we know that it should be based on a territorial diagnosis with the participation of civil society organization, but we are also convinced that the toolkits will support also the development of local policies as well as national policy. Thank you very much, and I don't know if we'll have another opportunity to add more.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You all. We are running a bit late, but it's such a great discussion that I immediately turn to Victor Messeguer. Victor is the Director of Social and Solidarity, Social Economy Europe, who is the voice of almost 3 million social economy enterprise and organization in Europe. Victor, you have heard the question I put to Aude, and it is exactly the same question for you. How you will use the OECD recommendation?
Well, thank you very much, Antonella, for the question, for the invitation. Congrats to the OECD for this launch event today. And thanks for the opportunity of sharing this moment with so many friends and also with a global audience full of familiar faces, which are very engaged in the social economy development. Of course, after Aude, I have limited things to input because Aude has said a lot of what I was going to say, and she has done it very rightfully. Our objective is to scale up the social economy at global level. Our objective is to grow up. We feel that the social economy is there. We see and we are capable of analyzing the strengths of the social economy. As you said, Antonella, in the European Union, we are talking about 30.6 million employees by 2.8 million social economy enterprise and organizations, which accounts for 6.3% of employment, and with a great heterogeneity within Europe. In some countries, and Juan Manuel was very clear on that, and also the French government, Mrs. Schiappa, social economy is accounting for more than 10% of private jobs, between 10 and 12% of jobs, and in other countries is about and around 0.6%. So indeed, very heterogeneous development. The social economy has strengths, but the social economy can go beyond where it is. At global level, the data tells us that we are around 10% of employment at global level, and the objective is to conquer new spaces, to go beyond that. This fantastic, this very, the result of a lot of fights, of history, of entrepreneurship. This 10% is the result of all of that, but we need to go beyond that, and we are in the right moment. Also, thanks to initiatives such as the OECD recommendation on social and solidarity economy and social innovation. You give us the lever to go beyond. You give us the lever to accompany governments in modernizing their legal and policy frameworks. This is at the end what explains the differences in the European Union in terms of development of social economy, and what explains the differences at global level. It's history. It's the own development of the sector, and it's also about legal and policy frameworks. And it's not because, social economy exists everywhere in the world. Let's say the virus of cooperation among citizens, the virus of civil society getting together and doing things together, creating associations to defend their interest, creating social services for themselves, creating cooperatives to employ themselves or to provide services to themselves, as the Rochdale pioneers did in the 19th century. This is global, but then history explains disparities. Of course, in Central and Eastern Europe, after the trauma of the Soviet Union, cooperatives had not a nice reputation because they were compulsory cooperatives, which were driven top down, not the result of freedom, as the first cooperatives created in the United Kingdom, as the cooperatives that we are talking about today. So history explains a lot in terms of development of social economy and of different legal frameworks. And this council recommendation is a tool to scale up. I want to repeat, and I will be brief because I know that we are running out of time, something that Odd said. It takes at least two to tango. It takes at least two to dance. Social economy development also needs a strong social economy support structures, a strong social economy organizations. And I think that the OECD recommendation can be of critical importance in that. We need to understand how policy demand happens. And I can put the example of the European Union. In 2014, the dream of a social economy action plan was impossible. We created the policy demand. That's how policy happens. It happens through exchanges, through mutual learning, but it also happens through bargaining. It also happens through a sector, through some actors that push for policy. So it is fundamental to support them, to advance policy, but also to advance services and cooperation among themselves, to be not only policy actors, but also operational actors at the service of a next generation social economy, which indeed needs to be industrial, which indeed needs to be more green. And at the end, when we want to grow, we don't want to grow for growing, for the sake of growing. We want to grow to catalyze more social innovation, to drive a fair green transition that leaves no one behind, that is led by the communities and by citizens, to lead a digital transition that also leaves no one behind, to build cohesive societies, cohesive communities. So this recommendation is very much welcomed and will support us a big deal in achieving these objectives.
Thank you very much, Victor. I saw our two policy makers acknowledging on your message, and I think it has been fully heard. So we are really late now. So I would like to ask both to Juan Manuel Martinez-Louvier and Juan Manuel Sanchez-Terán to be very brief in addressing the second question that I have for you. So now we are focusing on the international momentum, around the social economy. So the recommendation is also meant to foster a global understanding of the social economy and expand its international development. How do you think it can be useful in order to do so? If you can keep your reply up to 2-3 minutes, this will be really very appreciated. Thank you very much.
Who, Juan Manuel, you want first?
You can start, Juan Manuel. Yes, Juan Manuel, you can start.
Thank you. This is a happy coincidence to have the same names, isn't it? Well, for us, this recommendation help us, as I said before, to talk in a different language. I think that the programs and the direction of politics, they are very related to what is in the imagination of the society. And when the year 89 happened, humanity just kept a single imaginary, the only root of capitalism. And we see now the results. Many societies just implemented those politics that were open to markets, open to financial investors. And that was the narrative of what the world could be. And now we see the results. So I think this recommendation helps us to say, this is not the only narrative. This is not the only way to conduct economies in the world. So a very serious and important institution as the OECD is talking to the world, saying we can do better. And that is based on a very, very long tradition of humanitarianism in economy, and that is called social economy. So I think that the global speech is changing in many ways. The pandemics forced us to have a different narrative of the world. But this recommendation that is very specific to the ears of the government is very useful to complete a global narrative that other way that is possible based on the very, very human history of the social economy, cooperativism, and all those forms of social activity when the people takes economy in their hands. So thank you very much to the OECD and all the participants, all the countries that we made part in this recommendation, because now the world has a different tool to express ourselves, how can be a better humanity. So thank you very much. And now, Juan Manuel, maybe you can say smarter things that I said. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to you. Now, Juan Manuel from Spain. Thank you. And 2 minutes for you as well, if you can.
Very briefly. Yes, how is the OECD recommendation going to help to foster social economy at global level? Well, I think that we live in a global world. Victor and Juan Manuel previously have very well expressed that in a global economy. So our challenges are also global, and the way to tackle them needs also to have a global vision with collaboration from all parts. And social economy knows very well about collaboration. It has been doing it for centuries, as Juan Manuel and Victor and the other colleagues have previously said. So I think that we live now as a very special momentum. Sometimes we are not very well aware of this, because as someone said before, if we look a little bit behind, social economy was not an important issue at EU level. And now there are many things happening in our countries, many things happening at EU level, many things happening globally. And the OECD recommendation is one of these very important steps. I would like also to mention the ILO resolution on decent jobs and social and solidarity economy, which is also very important. And there was this very important coincidence that they were approved at the same time, the same day. So things are happening now, and we have to take the heritage of our colleagues that have worked to develop cooperatives and develop social economy. We have this responsibility. So going to very specific things. How is Spain going to support, and how is this recommendation going to help us? Well, you know that Spain is going to hold the presidency of the EU in the second half of 2023, and our government has expressed the Minister of Labour and Social Economy, which is the Vice President of the government now, and also the Secretary of State, have many times said that social economy is going to be one of the priorities of the Spanish presidency. So now the Commission is preparing a recommendation on the development of framework conditions for the social economy. The Commission prepares this document and it has to be passed by the EU Council. So Spain is going to be the presidency under these discussions, and hopefully this recommendation is going to be passed in the second half of 2023. So we have a unique opportunity to reflect all the things we're saying here, to reflect that another economy is possible, that leaves no one behind, and that is especially responsible with social and environmental issues. So we have this unique opportunity in-house at EU level, but we also have the opportunity to do it globally. You might also know that Spain, with some other countries, is trying to promote UN Assembly resolution on social economy and economic development, on sustainable development. And well, our ministry presented this program in July in New York, and our embassy, our representation at the United Nations is working very hard to gather the support of different countries, so this resolution is passed with consensus, and it's a broad and recognized resolution. And this is going to be important because after this, as Victor and other colleagues said before, as there are some countries that are where social economy is not so developed, this is very important because after the UN resolutions, there are going to be programs, there's going to be money, and there's going to be different actions that are going to promote globally social economy. So, and just a last 10 seconds question. I would like to, and going back to the Spanish presidency, I would like to invite you to 2 events that are going to take place under the Spanish presidency of the EU in Spain. One is an international conference on social economy that is going to take place in San Sebastián. San Sebastián has been designated, has been appointed capital city of the social economy in Spain. This year, capital city is Santiago de Compostela, and San Sebastián will hold this capital city in 2023. And there's going to be this big event on social economy, this big conference. So you're all invited. And then there's another event, which are the Social Economy Awards that Victor Meseguer knows very well, because it's an event from the European sector, and that take place every 2 years. And we want to give them, with of course the support of the European sector, give them a big push because they really deserve it. So finally, I want to highlight the extraordinary job that OECD has been doing, incorporated into the recommendation the different visions, reconciliating the different visions. We know there are very different visions between and among the members of OECD, and you have done an extraordinary job to have a common vision in this recommendation. So thank you very much.
Thank you to you, Juan Manuel. Now, Aude and Victor, really, I count on you to keep it very short. Equal opportunities for you to have your 2 minutes to answer this question. So we would like to know what are the priorities that you see at the global level that the implementation of the recommendation can help with. 2 minutes, please. Be impactful, short and clear. Aude, you can start, 2 minutes, and then Victor. So apparently we lost Aude. So Victor.
A pity to lose Aude, because I mean she's the best one of the 2, let's say. But okay, and she has the global vision. What priorities at global level? More intercooperation between the social economy. Let's help each other more. We are a movement, so we need to support each other and to develop a global vision. I think that's something that happened in Europe. The OECD could help to expand it, which is the transition pathways. This is a strategic plan of the social economy 2030. I think that your recommendation can push social economy into more innovation, that is already in your 9 priorities, and also into areas which are fundamental for the future of our planet. The social economy is already there everywhere, but we can go the extra mile if we have a strategy, if we have investments, as Juan Manuel was also saying, and investments for different actors, and if we know where we are going and how we need to cooperate. This is very important. We cannot work in silos. We are in a moment, this OECD recommendation, the UN task force, the ILO, the social economy action plan, everything demonstrates that we are in a moment of maturity. And in a moment of maturity, your decisions, your actions matter a lot. So it's time to start cooperating more and to start building things which are global. global structures to defend our interests, like the Global Social Economic Forum and others, but also global ventures, global projects. Sometimes we will be doing things together. Sometimes we will be learning from each other, as we also have done with the facilitation of the OECD. So I think that that's the big objective. And I think that the OECD could truly help us to replicate something similar to the transition pathways at international level, knowing how social economy can lead the green transition in the world, can go beyond this 10%, and what do we need to do that also. So a sort of analysis which is fundamental. And then essential, because I think that this was also part, how can we engage users as much as needed? We are going to sign an agreement with the ICA Americas that you know, Antonella, because you were in that event together with Juan Manuel Martinez Lubrier. So we need to do that more. We need to travel. We need to know each other, and we need to support each other. So happy to do that as much as needed.
Thank you very much, Victor. It is time to close now. I certainly will not wrap up all excellent thoughts that have been shared with us. I want to thank our speakers, including the one who sent their message by video. And I want also to thank the audience who participated to this debate by using the chat. We are starting right now to work on an implementation toolkit for the recommendation, and we will keep contacting you because we want to hear from you, your visions, your ideas, your good practices. So stay tuned. Thank you very much. And we also invite you to an important conference that we will have in March next year from the 20 to the 22 in the framework of the global action on supporting the promotion on social and solidarity economy that we are preparing with the support of the European Commission. Thank you very much to you all. Hope to see you soon. Bye.